It is a brand new week, so you know what that means. Another episode of Toni Told Me podcast. If you're new here, every week we have a structure. We delve into your dilemmas in Tea Time with Toni, and we have the Sisterhood Spotlight where we talk about a topic in depth. Today we're talking about becoming a content creator. The title of this episode is actually, So You Want to Be a Content Creator. So if you want to be one, keep listening. In the meantime, please make sure you subscribe on YouTube if you're watching this from YouTube, or if you're listening to this via Spotify, via Amazon Podcasts, via Apple Podcasts. Please make sure you like, you comment, and you follow the pod. What have I been up to? If you've been following me on socials, particularly Instagram, you would know that I've suddenly become a gardener. I think it's an age thing. I don't know what happened. It's like I turned 35, and this year I care about things I never cared about before. Like I'm feeding birds, I'm buying bird feeders, I'm beefing crows. I actually feel bad when I think about it because, if you follow me, you would know that like I've been beefing the crows in my garden because I bought a bird feeder for all the cute little birds and they keep trying to like get food. So I had to buy a special bird feeder that keeps crows and squirrels out. So it has like a cage around it so only the little birds can come in. And then my sister made a good point. She was like, Toni, this is kind of like discrimination. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you're kind of discriminating based on like adorability, like cuteness. And I was like, low key I am, because I only want to feed the tiny birds. So by the way, they have names. They have names in my garden. So I have like a male house sparrow, and there are two female sparrows that like roll around with him. They're a little crew of three.
That the male roll around with him.
They do. They like roll around. They're like a trio. They're like his. I don't know what they are to him. I don't know which one's his main, which one's his side. But the male house sparrow, he's called Diego, and the two females that he rolls with, they look like twins. So I call them Taiwo and Kende, which refers to twins in like Nigeria. And then there's like a blue, no, not a blue tit, a great tit. So they're a bit different. Because the color on their head isn't so blue, but they have a yellow body, a yellow chest. So I have a great tit called Dave. He's the fat one. And then the small great tit is called Steve. And then I've got a Robin, but I wasn't really ingenious with him. I just named him Robin.
Knew it.
And then Maggie is the magpie, but she's an op because I don't want her taking the food from the little birds. And then obviously the crow, which I call Voldemort. So those are the names that I gave to the birds in my garden. I've been gardening a lot. I've been going to like the garden center every other week, filming the peacocks, filming my progress. I've been plucking spring onion from my garden. I've been plucking garlic from my garden. I made some pasta sauce with the garlic the other day. I've been having the time of my life. And I think that's my new thing. As I enter my 40s, well, I still got like years to go, to be fair. I'm about to turn 36. But as I enter my 40s, my new thing is going to be mastering gardening. And I've been mowing my lawn. Like I mowed a lawn for the first time this year because it was something my dad would always do. And I mowed a lawn. I actually quite enjoyed it. So yeah, I've been having the time of my life gardening, guys. And if you want to watch my gardening, follow me on Instagram. As always, we have producer Anisha in the building, and she's always got the juiciest dilemmas for us. Producer Anisha, what do you have for us this week?
Okay, so our first dilemma says, Hi, Toni. Growing up, I always felt pretty average. But as I've gotten older, people tell me I'm too smart to find someone on my level. They're not just talking about education or success. They're referring to emotional and social intelligence, self-awareness, and how I handle relationships. Over time, even close friends have put me on a pedestal, which makes me uncomfortable because I know I'm deeply human and flawed too. I've had to grow into being okay with how people perceive me. Recently, 2 male colleagues told me I might struggle to find a partner because I intimidate men. And oddly enough, even in a past relationship with a woman, my emotional depth created an imbalance. I've dated men who seemed aligned on the surface but lacked real depth. So I'm wondering, am I too emotionally aware or too smart for love? What can I do to build real connections without feeling like I have to shrink myself?
I'm glad you said the last line because whatever she does, she must not shrink herself. She must not dilute herself. I think sometimes in the quest for love, we can feel like we are too much in different ways for various reasons. And we think that the best approach is to change parts of ourselves or reduce ourselves in some way to accommodate others or to align with the majority. But what makes you so amazing is that you are different. You're special. You have a gift, obviously, whether that's hyper intelligence, just on a general level, or hyper emotional intelligence. And I think that it would be a disservice to yourself if you decided to change yourself to fit in with what people consider the norm, the average. Because if you're above average, girl, claim it, own it unapologetically. But I understand where the issue lies, because in all these abilities and skills and whatnot that you have, you might feel like you might not be able to relate to people. And I think this is quite common in different ways. Like even people who, for example, like kids who grow up with Asperger's syndrome, for example, who are like hyper intelligent, a lot of the time they struggle socially because they can't really relate to their peers. Imagine you're 11 years old, 12 years old. You have the intelligence of someone that's like mid-30s. You're not trying to talk about Sonic, or I don't know what kids talk about nowadays, but you're not trying to sit and talk about Sonic with your friends. You're trying to have some deep-ass conversation. You feel like no one gets you. And I imagine for you, it's different but similar in that sense, where it's like, I struggle to relate to people on a deep level because no one gets to my level. But what I said to myself when I was dating, and what I want you to say to yourself, is that for you to exist as you are, your equal also exists. And as special and as unique as we are, we're not total anomalies. Like there is someone out there who is similar or the same as us in certain ways, right? And it's less about you changing and adapting and more so you holding on to hope that you will one day find your equal. And I think that is the key thing. That's really, really important. Like that person is out there. You just haven't found them yet. And to be honest, I don't even want you to feel too bad, because a lot of people are in the same boat, but for different reasons. There are a lot of people who haven't found their equal. They might not have found their equal. It might not be in relation to like being super deep, but they're still looking for their person. They're still waiting for their person. They're looking for someone they connect with. And that is like a shared experience globally. So many people are waiting for their person. And you're just another person waiting for their person. But yours is just a little different because what you're looking for has a bit of nuance there, right? But yeah, hold on to hope. Hope is an important thing. Hold on to that abundance mindset. I think sometimes we can find ourselves embracing like a scarcity mindset when we struggle to find people we relate to. We start thinking that, oh no, they don't exist, that you will just be alone forever. You'll never find love. And I want you to not give in to that voice in your head. Hold on to that abundance mindset that there are people out there, whether it's friends or partners, that you will be able to relate to on that deep level that you're looking for, but you just need to find them. And as far as finding them, I guess it's rich to say because it's easier said than done. You just need to find them. Like, where are they? Even for the average person, where the hell are they? I think if anything, you just need to continue what you're doing. Be open to getting to know people, talking to people, going out, or just socializing however you see fit. For some people, it's dating apps. For some people, it's something in person. For someone like you, I would recommend in person over dating apps, because I do think that a gripe for you is that surface level interaction. And I think dating apps feed into that quite a bit. So I would focus on in-person interaction. And if the deepness and the intellect is something that's really important to you, I think go places that you would ordinarily go yourself based on your interests. And I think you're more likely to find like-minded individuals there. If you have something that you're super passionate about, super interested in, when there are activities or conferences or workshops or seminars to do with the things that you're interested in, go to those things to increase the likelihood of you meeting a like-minded person. But what I want to say, just to finalize, is that person is out there. And just never, ever, ever dilute yourself, dim yourself, or reduce yourself in any way to accommodate others. Continue being you and being as brilliant as you are, with the understanding that one day you will find your equal. Producer Anisha, dilemma number 2, please.
This one says, hey, big sis, let's talk about the married men versus young women pandemic. Ooh. It says, I'm in my early 20s and honestly, I haven't had much luck in love. Most of the men I meet are either married, have a baby mum, or at the very least, someone else is in the picture. Do you know what? This is actually true. Like,
Oh, was that same for you as well?
yeah,
In your 20s, most of them are taken already.
a lot of baby mums
Wow.
or unknown baby mums in my
Things have clearly changed from when I was in my 20s, I'll tell you that. I can't, that's not an experience that I had.
I'm naturally attracted to older guys. This is literally...
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably a big factor.
Yeah, I think this is my problem too. But it seems like that just makes things more complicated. I moved to this country 6 years ago, and ever since, it's been one situationship after another. I dated a guy who told me he and his baby mum were just co-parenting. Turns out they were still together.
Ugh.
Then I got involved with someone who was engaged to another woman, even though we had a strong connection and we were genuinely into each other.
Wow.
Now I've met someone new in a different country, only to find out he's married as well.
Oh, my Lord.
And, of course, he's lied about being single. At this point, I'm wondering, am I doing something to attract these kinds of men? Why does it feel like every guy I meet is either taken or doesn't want anything serious with me? I just want someone of my own. Is that really too much to ask for? What's wild is me and my friends are experiencing the exact same thing.
Wow.
How do I stop attracting these kinds of men? I genuinely went through a stage where I was attracting these kinds of men, like one after the other. It was like carbon copies
Really?
of one another. Yeah, it was horrible.
Do you feel like, Anisha, that you were doing anything to attract them, or do you feel like it was just bad luck?
I think it was bad luck.
Okay.
I hope it was bad luck. I hope I'm not doing things to attract these kinds of men, because I did not want to be involved with them.
Okay. This is interesting. God, I didn't know this was that common. Okay. I guess the honest part of me is going to say that, look, I do not have experience in this field, where like I'm dating someone only to find out they already have something. I have experience in the realm of dating someone and then they go to have something while they're with me, but I don't have experience where they already have something to start with. But based on everything you're saying, I think there's multiple potential factors at play. When you say you like older men, I guess I would question, how old are we talking, right? Because if you're in your 20s and you're dating men that are in their 40s or late 30s, there is going to be a very, very, very high chance that you will run into these types of men. And I say this because by that age, a lot of people already have a kid. If they don't already have a kid, they have been married and divorced, or they're still married, or do you know what I mean? Like by that age, people have committed in a significant way to someone else. So it's a higher chance of you running into that kind of individual, right? I think when you're 21, dating someone who's 21, it's a much lower chance of you dating a guy who has a child or who has a wife because you're so young. There's that factor. Like going for older men, I think that's always a potential risk. And also on like a sisterly level, when women tell me that they're attracted to older men, I do question the why sometimes, because I'm not going to lie to you. The men my age, they are not that different from the men your age. Like, I think when you're younger, you have this opinion of like older men that they're so much more mature.
They are not.
I hate to break it to you, sis. Yeah, they're not. Like, a lot of the young girls are dating older men thinking, oh, the guy, he's got his life together. He's so mature. No, yeah, the maturity level, I don't think it will be that different from men who are like in their late 20s who are your age. I've dated men who are older and they've seemed more immature than men who are potentially younger.
So that's what I found.
Yeah, right? There's also that to consider. And I also think with our generations, when we look at like generation, oh my God, I was such an auntie. I was going to say Generation Z. Generation Z, you know? When we look at Gen Z, I think you guys are smashing it in so many different ways. I feel like one critique of Gen Z is that, oh, you're the woke snowflake generation. But I actually think like those terms are an indirect way of saying that you are very aware of what's going on in the world. You are very understanding, less judgmental. And if anything, I think that makes a lot of younger men even better candidates than some of these older millennials that you guys are dating, but each to their own. If you like, maybe some of you like older men because they, you know, they're more established in their career. Financially, they're in a better position. But mindset, I will say, it ain't that different. It ain't that different. But as far as like you continuously finding yourself in situationships with men who already have someone who have a child, secret girlfriend, secret wife. My question to you, and I'm not going to focus on the men so much because we all know that when it comes to men, like they will lie their way into opportunity. And that's not all men, but a lot of men are like that, unfortunately. They can be very manipulative and very selfish. So we've already established that in several different ways throughout the episodes, throughout all of my writing. We know this. But I'm going to focus on you for that reason. What I want to ask you is, when it comes to your dating, are you someone who places actions over words? And I ask you this because I find that the women I know and the friends I have who continuously find themselves in sticky situations with men are typically words of affirmation girlies, i.e., it is what people say to them that generates affection from them. And unfortunately, when you are a words of affirmation girly, it's a bit easier to get swindled because you're going by what people tell you and not by actual results and actionable things. And I want to ask you that because I do think that when you judge men according to action and not so much what they say, it becomes slightly easier to spot these types of men because it's difficult to juggle a wife and a family when your actions are you're super invested in your partner. You're calling them, you're seeing them, you're making plans for them. When your actions show that you are invested and there's a lot of reciprocity there, it is very, very hard to do that and then to be lying about, like, to have a second life, basically. But when you're someone who's giving 30% in action and 70% in words of affirmation, it's very easy to like juggle so many things at once and still have someone consistently there. Because I feel like if someone was really doing the needful with the action, they're taking you on dates, they're seeing you regularly, they're putting plans into action, they're introducing you to their nearest and dearest, it's going to be hard to hide a wife and hide a kid through all that, right? So there's that I want to ask you. Are you focusing on action and are you seeing reciprocity in their behavior? Another thing that I want to ask you is, are you going for the men who want you or the men you want, right? I think that when women go for the men they want, it's a much better way to date, because I find that with these scumbaggy men who have wives, who have girlfriends, who have families, whatever, they tend to be the thirsty ones, right? They tend to be the thirsty ones. They tend to be the ones that are always like chasing women down, hunting women down. And I find a lot of them are the growers. Like they will hunt you down, they will chase you, and then they will eventually grow on you. And even though I don't have experience in this realm, like I have friends who have experience in this realm, and that's typically how it happens. The guy is the one that sets their eyes on them. And at first you may not be interested. Then he's so persistent, he grows on them, and then they end up in this situation, and it's like a bigger slap in the face because I didn't even want you, you wanted me. But I think it's better when you're dating, if you want to like minimize the risk. And I say minimize risk and not avoid, because you can't avoid it completely. Like I said, men can be very manipulative. They can be very deceitful, as with many humans, to be honest. And to completely safeguard ourselves is very hard, but there are things we can do to minimize risk. And I think, going for the men you want, as opposed to the men who are just hunting you down, who are just thirsting over you, and actually like going for men based on more than simply physical attraction or the superficial things he has to offer, the car he drives, the watch he wears, but actually because, you know what, this person seems like a genuine person. Obviously there should be some attraction there, but you're going for them because you think, actually, this person seems kind, this person seems considerate, this person seems thoughtful. I like how they appear to me. I want to get to know them. And that minimizes risk because off the bat, you've already done some analysis and you've also already done some vetting. Whereas when you're just going for the guys who are coming to you, who are thirsting on you, then the vetting process sometimes it is not as thorough because you're spending so much energy into trying to like manage their attention that you're not really taking the time out to step back and be like, actually,
you're not completing the full CRB check.
I like the way you put that, producer Nisha.
You're not completing it. You're getting halfway through.
Yeah.
And then because they're doing all this crazy shit, it distracts you from completing the CRB check.
That's it. And you know what? On that note, you just reminded me of something. When you said they're doing all this crazy shit, do you know what other crazy shit men like this do? You can easily find yourself in that position where you're constantly attracting men who already have partners. If you are someone who falls for the rewards, the immediate rewards of love bombing.
Oh,
because one thing I will say about a man who got
Toni,
a wife,
you're shooting me down.
one thing I'll say about a man who's got a secret wife, secret girlfriend, secret family,
You know,
they will love bomb the shit out of you. And the reason why they love bomb the shit out of you is because they already know they don't have much to offer you because they're already offering so much to someone else. They already have a situation, and they want to coax you into falling for them and to tie you in by using manipulative tactics. And they feel like, okay, if I love bomb her enough, if I'm giving her gifts, if I'm taking her on trips, if I'm spoiling her, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that by the time she finds out that I have a wife,
it's too deep.
She's lost in the soul. She drank the Kool-Aid because I'm paying for her rent. I just got her a whip. I just bought her new Bottega bag. And she's thinking about all
I need
these...
to be drinking some of that Kool-Aid. I was just having sips of the Kool-Aid.
No, you don't want that Kool-Aid.
No, I don't want any more love bombing.
But that happens a lot where like women will find themselves in situations with taken men because the men have loved bombed them to the point that they've seen little flags here and there, but they've ignored it because of all the rewards that have distracted them, right? It's not even their fault. It's not your fault. And it's not even that, oh, you're so materialistic, you ignored it. Chances are that you were manipulated into not considering the red flags because of all these other material distractions. And that's another thing I want to say. Like, are you dating men who throw everything at you? And are you seeing that as like a good thing? Because I think there's a point where gift giving, where grand gestures can be worrying. There's a point where it's like, okay, this is a nice, cute gift. This is a reasonable gift considering the amount of time I've known you. But there's also a point where it's like, no, you have to actually consider when a gift is being given for the wrong reasons because it might be too excessive. Like I hear stories of women who are like, oh yeah, this guy, he took me on a vacation for our second date. And I'm like, sis, okay, safety aside, because why are you going to Peru with a random man you've never met before? Safety aside, like you have to consider why is someone giving you such an excessive gift if they don't know you? And I think sometimes women can think, oh, this person must really like me. Okay, potentially there's a small percentage of men that have the financial means and really like you and feel like giving this grand gift and it means absolutely nothing, but they want to give you this gift. But there's also a large percentage of men who do that because they are trying to manipulate you in some way or deceive you in some way, right? There's also that to consider. So for the most part, where are we going with this? I guess I want to finalize this by saying that when you're dating a man, actions before anything else. Actions before anything else. Pay attention to the time he invests in the relationship as well, the energy he invests into the relationship, because as I said, it's much harder to invest a lot of time and a lot of energy if you already have someone in the background. That's super important. Words of affirmation, they're cute, but it's not the be all and end all. Consider whether they are love bombing you. Are they throwing excessive gifts at you, excessive gestures at you in an attempt to like get you deep into an obsession or infatuation with them? And also consider like their age, like, are they at an age where it could be a possibility that they've established something already? And also query why you like men who are older. And I think those things are things that would potentially change your outcomes when it comes to dating. I really hope that my advice helped you in some way. If you have a dilemma that you would love me to answer, please email our inbox, Toni@ToniToldMePod.com. That's Toni@ToniToldMePod.com. And I will try my very best to answer them. And if you feel like the dilemmas in this episode related to someone you know, feel free to send this episode to them. Next up, we have the Sisterhood Spotlight for anyone who is thinking of becoming a content creator. So, you want to be a content creator. Before we get into this segment of the pod, one thing I do want to highlight is that I'm using content creator interchangeably with influencer, but the reality is they're actually quite different. Okay, maybe not quite different, but they are a little different. So for one, they both produce high quality content. They both have brand deals and campaigns and whatnot. But I think a key difference between an influencer versus a content creator is that an influencer makes their identity the core of their brand, right? A content creator, they could be completely absent from their content, to be honest. Like, it can be really subtle or even optional. The most important thing for them is producing high quality content, but they won't necessarily give you insight into their personal life. Whereas with an influencer, you create more of a parasocial relationship, to be completely honest, because of the way they make their identity such a big part of their content and center of their content. And a content creator, in my opinion, high quality content is the most important thing. And for an influencer, I think the most important thing is audience connection. Even though they both do a little bit of both, that's the difference. So for example, I'm sure you guys are on like TikTok, a lot of you are. You know those creators who like travel content creators, that's a good example. Travel creators. You don't follow them because you care about their life and who they're dating and what they're doing. You just want to see where they're going, how much was the hotel, where you going next, was the food good? You couldn't give a damn about their personal life. And their brand is not them. Their brand is their travel, right? Whereas someone like Molly May, you care about who she's dating, you care about what she's doing, you care about her kids' names because you follow her for her identity. So that's different. Content creator v influencer. But I'm going to use it interchangeably for the sake of this episode. So keep listening if you want to be an influencer and keep listening if you want to be a content creator. I guess the advice here will overlap. Before I give you advice, let me give you a brief overview about my own journey. So I started making content. To be honest, I've been making content for a long ass time. I've been on Instagram since 2011. I'd been sharing tweets on Twitter way back in the day, and then I closed my Twitter account for many years and reignited it in 2017. TikTok, when did I join TikTok? Was it like 20? It was a lot later than the others, but simply put, I've been creating content for quite a while. I didn't start taking it seriously until about 2018 though. And you guys know the story, so I'm not going to share it again. But basically going through a breakup and then writing and then just understanding how my content and how my writing was helping others and investing in that. And then 2020, I went full-time. 2020, I was a full-time creator. Did I think I could make a living out of it? In this beginning days, like when we're talking 2012, 13, 14, absolutely not. I just did it for fun. It was a hobby. But by the time I started taking it seriously, I was like, okay, yeah, this could be a viable career option for me. And I was seeing so many different people succeed in different ways. I think the early days, the influencers we knew when we were younger were like YouTubers. There were a lot of YouTubers that I was aware of. I wasn't really a YouTube girl. I didn't really sit and watch YouTube videos passionately, but I was aware of all the big influencers. And I think like they really set the bar and set the tone for like allowing people to understand that there's a viable career potential in creating content online. How do you get started? Let me just go into the nitty gritty. One massive piece of advice for anyone listening is to pick a platform based on your strengths. Initially, anyway. If you are great at writing, you're great with words, Twitter, I mean, it's called X now, but Twitter, you've got Threads, you've got Blue Sky, you've got LinkedIn. If you're great with words, utilize those types of platforms. If you are great with visuals and photography, Instagram and Pinterest, that's a bit of you. If you like something a bit more interactive and you love video content, TikTok, YouTube. I think it's great to start with your strengths and then from there you can diversify. So I think personally, I could be wrong. I think that I started gaining a bit of a name for myself when I approached it this way because a lot of people knew of me from my writing. My tweets would always go viral and that's how my brand started to grow. Then from there, I was like, okay, so you guys are effing with my writing. Let me see if I can incorporate my advice in my Instagram. So to this day, you still see my tweets on my IG. And then with the video stuff, I'm like, okay, you guys like my advice. Let me see if I can turn my written advice into video content. So at the end of the day, the goal is to try and be across as many of them as possible. But initially, If you're starting from the ground up, start with the platform that aligns with your strengths. Another piece of advice I would give is to find your niche, your USP, your je ne sais quoi. When I say USP, I'm talking about your unique selling point. We all have things we're interested in. For some people, it's beauty. For other people, it's travel. For some people, it's music. You need to ask yourself, how can I offer some diversity or uniqueness in that space? So you might be someone who really loves beauty, right? But there are lots of beauty creators and you want to stand out. So maybe you focus on beauty on a budget. You might be someone who really loves travel. But to stand out, you create content on traveling with a spouse and the best hotels for vacations, the best locations for vacations, for example. You may be someone who is really into food, but to stand out, you focus on creating fusion dishes out of popular dishes. Say you're from a certain culture and you go to Nigeriafy or Jamaicafy common dishes that aren't Jamaican or aren't Nigerian, right? So those are just some very, very simple examples of ways that you can incorporate some kind of unique selling point in common topics that people discuss online. Where would I say my unique selling point is? I think this is where I felt into like being an influencer as opposed to a content creator. Don't get me wrong, I still do a bit of both. I create content, but I think people know me more as an influencer than a creator of content. And I think I ended up falling into that influencer role because my USP ended up becoming like my life. Literally, like everyone is unique. So if you want to be an influencer, the unique thing is to literally talk about your life. If you don't want to be an influencer, then you need to think of taking an everyday topic and making it interesting. But for people who want to be influencers, yeah, a big part of it was talking about my family, talking about relationship stuff, things that relate to me, bringing people along on things I do, trips, activities, all that stuff. But if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, that's easy. Like, okay, USP, just being myself, being an influencer. One thing I will say to you is do not fall into the trap of feeling like you must share everything. And I guess it's rich coming from me because I'm quite transparent. You guys know this. I'm very laid back when it comes to like sharing is caring, right? I'm happy sharing, but there's also a limit. And I think if you want to be an influencer as opposed to a content creator, you need to consider your limits. What are your boundaries? For some people, they never, ever want to create any type of content that it could include any single of their family members. If that's you, you need to assert that from the beginning. For some people, they will never, ever make content to do with their relationship. Some people will never, ever make content in their own home. Before you embark on this journey, you need to consider, okay, what am I happy and comfortable sharing? That's a big part of moving ahead and going forward because a lot of your content is going to be focused on whatever it is you're willing to focus on. And if you don't have a clear set of rules and boundaries, you'll find yourself creating content about things you wish you never shared. I'm someone, when I look back at my career, I don't really have any regrets. I'm not really a regretful person in life, to be honest. I just kind of go with the flow. But I don't really have any regrets because in everything that I shared, I was kind of comfortable sharing. And I also shared like strategically. Some things I shared and I shared in a certain way with the knowledge that, okay, I'm happy for my followers to know this part of this thing, but not this part of this thing. You need to have a clear mission and clear focus and clear boundaries with the understanding that you don't need to share everything to be successful. Another tip I have for you is consistency over perfection. There are a lot of people who enter this creator game and they want to make it, they want to blow, they want to start making enough money that they can leave their 9 to 5. And the reason why they don't blow isn't because their content isn't good, it's because they're not consistent. There are a lot of people who become successful, not because they have perfectly curated content, but because they're just consistent with it. They don't have the best camera, they don't have the best mic, they don't have the best editing equipment, but best believe they're pumping 5, 6 videos out every single week. So remember that. Consistency over perfection. Do not fall into the trap of perfection paralysis. There are so many people who don't make it as creators because they never put anything out. They need their content to be perfect. I need this video to be perfect. I need this picture to be perfect. Then before you know it, time has passed. No one's talking about that thing anymore. Or they have paralyzed themselves to the point they feel like the content isn't good enough. So they don't share it at all. Do not chase perfection. When you chase perfection, you will share nothing, right? You just have to rip the Band-Aid off. When you've created the content, put it out. Who cares if it's not perfect? I'm sure there'll be someone who will relate to it. There'll be someone who will love it. And in letting go of perfection, you're building more of a connection with your audiences because they know they can expect content out of you. They know that, okay, every week there is something new, as opposed to you putting out perfect content once every 2 months. So try and be consistent with your content. There's a quote that I really love, and the quote goes something like this. Forgive me, I can't remember who originated it. I don't know for the life of me, but the quote goes like this. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Some of you have the skills to be a creator. You would be an amazing creator. But the reason why you are not finding success in this field is because you don't want to acknowledge that it requires work. That's a myth in this industry I want to dispel, actually. I think a common misconception when it comes to the creator space is that it's an easy job. Oh, it's easy. You just take a picture, you just record a video, wham, bam, thank you, man, you're viral. That's not how it works. You have to be a strategist. You have to be a marketer. You have to be a photographer, videographer, an editor. You have to wear so many hats. If you are not willing to work hard, you're not going to win in this industry. You're not going to succeed in this industry. Because, yeah, you could have a viral moment, but virality, what does it really mean in this industry if you don't have longevity? What you need to focus on is the longevity. You need to focus on having a long-lasting career, not just going viral as a one-off. Oh, you have a few viral videos, but what does that actually mean for you long-term? Can you build a career out of that? The reality is no. It's great as far as like metrics go, some nice vanity metrics to like hang on your wall. But the reality is you need to put in the work and you need to be consistent. Next, I'm going to talk about some of the problems and the risks associated with this job, because I think from the outside looking in, oh, these people, they just take pictures and videos and they get paid 4 figures, 5 figures. Some creators get even more than that. Like, how hard can it be? If you want to be a content creator or an influencer, you need to ask yourself whether you are comfortable tackling the potential risks and the potential problems. Number 1, trolling. I feel like being a content creator, particularly an influencer, content creator not as much if you're someone who's quite detached from their content, but if you want to be an influencer, you need to have thick skin. And I say this because even the nicest of influencers that try their very best to not ruffle any feathers in their sweet as pie, they still get hate. You can't avoid it. There will always be someone who dislikes you. And when you put yourself on a public platform, at the forefront of a public platform, you're an easy target for people who want to spread their misery or their annoyance. So that is a potential risk of the job, that you are going to get hate. Like, I get hate sometimes. Just the other day, oh my God, just the other day, child, I posted a tweet about how like some men have Peter Pan syndrome, and I
saw that.
You saw that, right?
Yeah.
I did say certain men, not all men. Some men have Peter Pan syndrome.
So the hurt ones.
The hurt ones found me. I don't know where they found me, producer Nisha. They found me. I had to lock off the comments under that post on my Instagram.
Was it a witch hunt? A full-on witch hunt?
A witch hunt.
Oh my God.
All these random men. And this is like random middle-aged men. I guess that's why they were hurt, right?
They're Peter Pans.
I'm like, where did all these 40 and 50-year-old men come from? And they were all in my comments like, shut up, bitch. My girlfriend's 21. Just because you're an old hag and dried up and no one wants you. One guy was like, what did he say to me? It was so wild. He was like, I had you fucking piece of shit. I had some crazy, a lot of them were Americans, to be fair. I had some crazy comments. And thankfully I was able to like look through them and just laugh. I remember calling my fiance and we were going through the comments and he was like, bruh, this is how you like know they're triggered, because you're not saying all men have this. You're saying certain men have.
Peter Pans. They need to get back to Neverland. Get back to Neverland, babe.
But if I wasn't thick-skinned, it could have really bothered me. I had people saying I was ugly. I had men saying I'm a piece of shite. I had men saying I'm old and washed up. I thought it was funny because it was just like, I have this thing where I'm like, okay, you said this thing, especially when it comes to guys, like you're cussing me out. I just go on your page. It sounds so bad. I just go on your page, look for your pictures, and then it tells me everything I need to know.
Exactly.
So I just find it very, very, very entertaining. But if you're someone who doesn't navigate trolling like me, it can be really hard to read some of these things. Another issue that you can run into being a creator is comparison. Oh my gosh. Comparison and imposter syndrome. This is one industry where it can really eat you up, because when you're comparing yourself to the people in your industry, you can easily forget that you're comparing their polished life, their highlight reel, to your real life. Like, you have the intel on your real life. You know how it is for you 24/7. When you're seeing influencers online, when you're seeing content creators online, you're watching their highlight reels. You're seeing, for the most part, the best of the best. And if you're not tapped into that reality and you don't stay grounded, you'll forget that. And you'll think that you have to be like other influencers. You think that you have to look like other influencers. Oh, I have to get my teeth done. I have to get my body done. I have to get my nose done, my hair done, my this done, because that's what influencers do. But there are so many different types of influencers. But if you're constantly comparing yourself to a certain type of influencer, or just influencers in general, you'll feel like you're not good enough, you're not doing enough. And also, if you're comparing opportunities, I think that can be an easy trap to fall into. So yeah, try not to give into comparison. So my top tips for being a creator, if you listen to all the problems and you still want to be one, keep listening, because I do. I mean, it's not all bad. There's some good stuff. I actually really love my job. I love my job. I get to be creative. I get to just be myself. I get paid for just being me and existing. And I take the bad with the good. And there is a lot of good. I get to travel. I get to meet different people. It could be really, really cool. My top tips. Define success for yourself on your terms. Not everyone wants to be an influencer. Some people want to be a content creator. Not everyone wants to create content in a certain way. They don't want to take photos. They just want to do video, or they just want to create written content. Define what success looks like for you. Build community, not just an audience. You need to talk with your followers, not just talk at them. I know even with this podcast, sometimes I feel like I'm talking at you, but no, I feel like I'm talking with you guys, because like when I look at the connection I have with a lot of the people who follow me on social media, you guys you've been around for a minute. Like, you've been around, you have an insight into the journey, into what I went through to get where I'm at now. And it's a two-way conversation, a two-way dialogue, because when I put stuff out, I like hearing from you guys. I ask you for advice sometimes, and you share that feedback, and I'm super appreciative. But yeah, it's important for you as a creator, whether you're a content creator or an influencer, to create community. And brands also love community. There are a lot of creators out here. There are a lot of content creators or influencers out here who have huge followings, huge followings. But brands don't want to work with them because they don't have community. They just have an audience. You see this a lot with sexy girls who don't build community with their audience and who just post pretty pictures. You look at their analytics, their followers are 90% middle-aged men. If I'm a beauty brand or I'm a travel brand, I want to advertise to people who will convert. Like Mark, the 45-year-old who's following you because you're a hottie, he's not the target audience for the kind of brands you want to work with. So that's why I say, like, quantity of followers isn't the only thing to worry about. People are always worrying about quantity. I want loads of followers. No, also quality of followers. Like, quality of followers. Do they align with the brands you want to work with? And will they convert? I think that's really important. Track your metrics. That's another tip. Track your metrics. What do I mean by that? You want to pay attention to your analytics. Like, is there a pattern when it comes to your video views? Is there a pattern when it comes to your engagement? What do your followers like? What do they dislike? Is there a time of day where you should be posting content based on your metrics? And also have a media kit. A media kit basically is like a highlight page for your page. So it has like your followers on there, where they're from, their average age, the kind of content you put out. Sometimes it has your rates on there. I personally don't recommend putting rates on a media kit because every brand is different. Some brands, cha-ching, they have change to spare, right? If you're putting, my rate for an Instagram video is 1,000 and that brand would have paid you 10,000, you just talked yourself out of £9,000. So never put your standard rate on there. Like, it depends on the deliverables and also the kind of brand you're working with. Is it a big brand? Is it a small brand? Like I said, don't be afraid to reach out to brands. If you have 2,000 followers, if you have 20,000 followers, 200,000, 2 million, still pitch, be proactive, like hustle. There are so many different content creators, and I find that the ones that really go far when it comes to like making big bucks in this game are the people who are willing to put themselves out there. And they're not too shy to say, look, I would really like to work with you. I really love this opportunity. Like, can we do something together? And they don't take rejection personally. And keep your boundaries. Boundaries matter in this industry. I think that's the biggest piece of advice I will give to you at the end of this pod. Like, in all that you do, in all the content that you are creating, in all the stuff that you are sharing, just make sure that you are happy sharing it. So as far as my positive words, I don't think I'm going to share too much because I feel like I've said it already. Like, the main thing for me is the whole boundaries thing. Even when I look at my life and how much I'm willing to share, it's all stuff that I have considered. I've been very, very considered. I've considered the risks. I've considered the repercussions. I've considered whether I can handle the potential risks. I've considered who will be impacted by my sharing. So that's important to know, especially when you're like me and you do content with like partners, siblings, parents, whatever it is. Like, you have to be comfortable, but also the people around you need to be comfortable too. And your friends. Like, some of you want to be content creators and your friends don't want to be on the internet. They don't want to be in your content. They don't want to be content creators themselves. And you have to respect other people's boundaries in your journey and on that process. That is all from me today. If you enjoyed this episode, please thumbs up if you're watching from YouTube and drop a comment. Please subscribe as well. And if you're listening to this via any audio platform, please make sure you are subscribed to Toni Told Me. We will be back again next week with another episode. In the meantime, I'm going to be on social media, looking out for your comments. And don't forget, you can also use the hashtag Toni Told Me if you want producer Nisha, especially, to find your comments or even dilemmas. Bye, guys.